I request ma'am to deliver expert lecture on wetland for water conservation.
Good afternoon to everyone. It's a very good day. We started with some important discussions about groundwater resources, and we also discussed a lot about water and wastewater treatment. So I'm privileged to be here, and I thank all the organizers who invited me here on this day to share my views on the use of wetland technology, how we can use the technology for wastewater treatment, and how the water conservation could be done with the use of this technology. So today it's a very important day, World Water Day we are celebrating. And the theme of this day, we all know, it is groundwater, making the invisible visible. We are not well known to our groundwater resources. We are not enough capable to see the resources, but the impacts we are having on our day-to-day life because of the contaminants, because of the pollution load in groundwater resources that we are facing nowadays. And it is the time when we need to think about the our resources, how we can preserve the resources, how we can make them contamination free. That is very much important nowadays. So with this idea, I came here to talk about the constructed wetlands, how the wetlands are important to us, what kind of water conservation processes we can achieve with the use of wetland technology. So today the topic of my presentation is wetlands and the role in wastewater treatment and how water conservation can be done with the use of this technology. We all know that wetlands are a very old concept. It came into the existence as Ramsar Convention in 1971. That is an international treaty which created a framework for the conservation of wetlands and its resources. So till then, from then till now, we are well known with the wetlands and their utilization and how our society is being involved in conservation of wetlands and its resources. So before I talk about the wetlands and their use in the wastewater treatment, it is very much important to know about the water resources and why we need to treat the wastewater using the kind of technology which are environment friendly and cost effective. So our water resources, we have plenty of water resources, maximum are saline water, and the available water resources which we are utilizing is surface water as well as groundwater, and the maximum consumption of these water resources in countries like India is in the agriculture sector, then comes industrial sectors, then domestic users. Somehow in case of the developed countries, the maximum consumption happens in the industrial sectors as compared to the agriculture sector and the domestic sectors. So in many of the countries we have seen that in coming years almost the water demand has increased up to 50% in developing countries, and developed countries are also having the great demand for these water resources. Now if you see the reports of Central Pollution Control Board, WHO, WWF, it says that the countries like India, China, they are going to face the water scarcity in coming years. And in India itself, if you see the current scenario, Niti Aayog report says that out of 28 states in India, 24 states are having the water shortage, and we are facing the problems because of the contamination of these water resources. Now this is a great threat to our water resources. Our water resources are in huge demand because of the increased population, the climatic variations, global warming is happening, and the important thing which we are discussing here today is the contamination of water resources. Our water bodies are getting highly contaminated. That is a major threat, that is a serious threat, and that's why we are moving towards the technologies that can help in treating the wastewater so that it could be utilized in different sectors. Though we had a lot of talk about the groundwater contamination, and Ankur also discussed a lot about the technology they have developed in this sector. So there are a lot of opportunities which are open nowadays in this field, and how the wastewater which is generated from different sectors, whether it is the sewage, whether it is the agriculture sector or the industrial waste, how this waste could be treated and being utilized for different purposes. That is the important need of the time. And if you see the current report of Central Pollution Control Board, the data says that we are not enough capable of treating the whole sewage which is being generated all over the country. We are capable only to treat the 67% of the sewage waste that is generated, and somehow we have some sewage treatment plants which are under construction or which are being proposed. So the scenario says that there is a time when we need to work for the applications of various technologies that can help in treating the sewage which is being generated and which is not enough treated using the sewage treatment plants. So because of this untreated sewage, if you see the water bodies are getting highly contaminated, and because of this contamination, the sustainability of water bodies is getting damaged, and that is also creating a great impact on the human health. So excess of nutrients is exposed, is getting disposed of into the water bodies. That leads to eutrophication, foul smell, and in fact a huge amount of solid waste, plastic waste which is being discharged directly into the water bodies is a major reason of causing clogging into the water bodies. And somehow our water bodies are now acting as a drains. So there are so many examples. If you see Nazabgarh river, it is like a drain nowadays. A huge amount of sewage waste is discharged into the Nazabgarh river, and that has made it like a drain because of the clogging that is happening. Excess of sewage waste is discharged into the river, plastic waste dumping is happening. So that is acting like a drain, and this is the time when we are moving or focusing towards the treatment of that waste using the constructed wetland technology. Now, already Ankush said that we have a lot of conventional methods which are being utilized for the treatment of wastewaters, but all of us are not enough capable of using these conventional methods. Like small scale industries when we talk about, or the medium scale industries we are talking about, these are the industries who cannot afford the conventional methods because of their cost, because of their maintenance expenses, because of the trained technical persons who are required to handle the systems. So wetlands are a good answer to the conventional methods which can be applied for the treatment of wastewater generated from various sources. And wetlands, basically these are the natural systems. They are having their self-cleaning system, and it is a complex of various physical, like sedimentation process happens, filtration happen, chemical processes used to happen, which includes adsorption, which includes precipitation, and combination of various biological processes where the biodegradation happens, plant assimilation takes place. So this is a system which is a self-cleaning system and help in improving the quality of water. And more than this, the natural wetlands have great importance in the human life. Natural wetlands, they provide habitat for the wildlife, as well as they are native to the they are the habitat to the native as well as migratory birds. Wetlands help in combating the problems of climate change, global warming. They help in recharge of groundwater, and they are functioning as a natural filter. So these are some of the importance why we talk about wetlands a lot nowadays. And somehow in 1904 we have seen that we were using wetlands for the discharge of wastewater, and that was a time when we became concerned about the wetlands, and we started thinking a lot about constructing some wetlands where the wastewater can be treated, which is disposed of directly into the wetlands, making them like a drains. So that was a crucial time, 1904, that started functioning on the use of constructed wetlands, and this concept came into the existence that we should start treating the waste, creating the artificial wetland systems. And developed countries as well as developing countries are coming forward to work in this sector. So I am just here to give a brief of these wetland system, how they work and what kind of opportunities are there in the sector, in the field of research and technological developments. So there are different criteria based on that we classify the constructed wetlands. They are classified based on the hydrology, where we classify them as surface flow and subsurface flow constructed wetlands. We classify them on the basis of path flow, that is horizontal as well as vertical. We classify them on the presence of macrophytes or the availability of macrophytes, and they are classified as free-floating macrophytes, constructed wetlands, submerged as well as emergent macrophytes. So this is the way how we have kept a criteria for designing the constructed wetlands, depending upon the hydrology, depending upon the path flow as well as the availability of macrophytes. So in this picture, I have tried to show you the figures of surface flow, subsurface flow and hybrid type of the system. In case of surface flow wetland system, these are the kind of natural systems which are having the shallow basins where water flows above the ground, and these kind of system may be kept up to the depth of 10 to 45 centimeters below, above the ground. And surface flow kind of wetlands, in generally we are using them for the treatment as a secondary treatment process as well as tertiary treatment process. Second is about the subsurface flow kind of wetland system, which where the water flows below the ground, and the maximum depth of these kind of wetland could be kept up to 60 centimeters. And the simultaneous processes happens when the water flows within the system through the gravity flow, and these kind of systems are very much common in European countries. Then the another picture explains about the hybrid constructed wetland system. Nowadays these systems are coming to treat the complex industrial wastewater, where we are utilizing the combination of different kind of wetland system for treating the complex industrial wastewaters. So as I said that wetlands are very much important, and macrophytes play an important role when we design the wetland system. So whenever we want to design any constructed wetlands, how we select the macrophytes, what should be the criteria of selecting the macrophytes, that is very much important, because we cannot grow all the plants into a wetland system. They cannot accept the toxicity that exists in the different kind of industrial wastewater. So whenever we are selecting or we are planning to select some macrophytes, we need to go for the species which are ecologically acceptable. The macrophytes which are native, which are indigenous, we should not import the exotic species. And moreover, we should have some lab experiments to see the growth of the plants for their survival in different kind of wastewaters, how much biomass they can produce, and what kind of extensive root system the macrophytes are having. These are some of the important design criteria which should be taken care when we are selecting certain macrophytes for the constructed wetlands. Here I have written some name of common macrophytes which we are using in the constructed wetland systems. Typha and Phragmites are mostly found in our country. They are native to our place, and most of the studies are based on the use of these plants. Why? Because the plants which we are using in the constructed wetland system, they should not degrade easily. So Typha and Phragmites are one of the plants, and moreover the plants they have extensive root system, they grow very well, and they help in the treatment of wastewater. So these are different designing criteria which we need to understand while selecting the macrophytes. So I have also shown some pictures here of different plant species which are generally used as floating species. Then some of the emergent species which include the use of Phragmites, Typha. As I already discussed how we need to select the macrophytes, what is the criteria. So depending upon these criteria, we have given some important species which are being used in different sectors for treatment of industrial wastewater, municipal wastewater, domestic wastewater, and some of the submerged species which you can see here, Ceratophyllum hydrilla are two important species which are commonly used in wetlands. Now, when we come to the designing aspect, we are very much concerned about designing of wetlands. So wetlands also have their own requirements. You cannot design wetlands anywhere and in any of the place. So they have some specific requirements. There are some specific conditions which need to be controlled while designing a wetland system. Like when we are treating the wastewater through the wetland system, it should not be highly toxic, because we need to see the survival and growth of macrophytes into the wetland. So accordingly, we need to select it. And moreover, wetland systems, they depend upon the temperature, they depend upon the pH also, and what kind of photosynthetic activities is happening within the system. It depends upon the temperature. The dissolved oxygen is also associated with the temperature. So these are certain important requirements of the wetland system, that they have certain limitations also, and there are certain things that are kept in the mind while designing the constructed wetlands. Now, I already discussed in the last slide that pH and temperature are one of the important components for the wetlands, and they are the factors that influence the wetland system. So temperature is one of the important factors. Why? Because if the temperature is very low, the microbial growth will slow down, the activities of the wetland system will slow down. If the temperature goes very high, in that case, it is very much detrimental to microbial growth. So the suitable temperature that has been found to be optimum for the survival of macrophytes and the specific treatment of the wastewater is considered to be 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. Similarly, when we talk about pH, it is suitable between 6 to 8. And moreover, at temperature also influence the dissolved oxygen present in the water, and sedimentation, sorption, these are some of the physical processes which depend upon the temperature. So it need to be maintained between 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. That is more suitable temperature. And another factors that influence is definitely climate, the weather conditions, the type of wastewater we are selecting for the treatment. So the important thing that is coming now is the different components of the constructed wetlands. As I said, that macrophytes are the important part of the wetland system. How we are selecting those macrophytes, what are the basic criteria for the selection of macrophytes, I already discussed. So mainly we are selecting the plant species which have extensive root growth, which are having the high biomass production, which can survive in the toxicity of wastewater. So for that we are doing a lot of lab experiments so that we can see their survival and their growth. Then the kind of soil and substrate we are selecting, because substrate media that help in providing the support to the plants, roots and their growth, and the biomass is also growing over the substrate. So they are enough capable of filtering the various contaminants from the wastewater. So selection of the soil and substrate media is important. Lining is also one of the important component for designing of system, because if we are constructing any wetland system, we need to provide the lining at the bottom so that there is no leakage is happening within the system, and for that we are using different kind of polyvinyl chlorides as well as HDPE, that is high density polyethylene, so that the leakage could be avoided and we can provide a safe separation of the constructed wetland from the groundwater contamination. Then designing aspects, when we talk about, we need to see the wastewater quality, the organic load present into the water, and accordingly we design our wetland system. So for that, the depth, length, width as well as detention time, these are some of the important factors we need to go through. And on the basis of the organic load, we generally calculate how much surface area is required. So many of the research studies also conclude that if you want to design a constructed wetland system for one household where 4 to 5 people are living, for that you need 28 meters square of the area. So that means 30 liters of the wastewater require 1 meter square of the area to construct a wetland system to treat the wastewater which is being generated from a household. And hydraulic conductivity as well as elevations, they are the another important component. So selection of substrate, selection of soil and other media is based on the hydraulic conductivity. We all know what is hydraulic conductivity. It is the property of the matter that allow the transmission of fluid through the matter. So we need to select the suitable media that helps in transformation of the water and to simultaneous process to happen through the system. Elevation and compaction is also very much important. Our system should be very much simple and no external inputs are required. For that we need to take care of elevations as well as compaction. Elevation where we talk about the gravitation flow, and compaction where the infiltration used to happen. So these are the design criteria, and they can help in just reducing the external loads which are required. Wetland system is a very complex system where a lot of physical, chemical, biological processes are happening for the removal of heavy metals, for the removal of various pollutant load, toxic pollutants, etc. And it is a combination of processes like sorption, sedimentation, filtration, biological assimilation, then plant uptake is happening which are promoting the uptake of nutrients. So these are certain processes that help in the removal of organic loads from the wastewater with the combination of all these physical, chemical and biological processes. Wetlands have a lot of advantages that you could finally conclude based on what we have discussed till now. Wetlands are very simple, very economic way of treating the wastewater. They are completely based on the solar energy. So if we design in a simple way, giving a proper slope, we can minimize the external input loads also, and they are also helping in reducing the greenhouse effect. They are a major sink for the organic carbon, so the global warming could be reduced. They have certain recreational as well as aesthetic values. They are habitat to the wildlife, migratory birds, native species. So whenever we talk about the technologies, all the technologies, they have some significance and some limitations also. As I talked about various factors and various requirements of the constructed wetlands, what they require, where we can design the constructed wetlands. Based on all these things, they have certain limitations that wetlands, sometime because wetlands require a very larger area. So it is difficult to design wetlands in highly dense populated cities where we are having the problems related to the space and all. And somehow in the low temperature areas, wetlands could not survive well. So we need to see all these things while we are constructing the wetlands, which area are more suitable to design the constructed wetlands for wastewater treatment. We have a lot of case studies which explain well about the applications of constructed wetland in different sectors. It was almost 1950s when we started working on the use of constructed wetlands for municipal wastewater as well as domestic wastewater, and the concept came famous from many European countries. Dr. Seidel was the first person who started working in this sector, and later in 1970s and 80s we promoted this technology for the use of different industrial wastewater also, the agriculture runoff which is coming out, and various domestic and municipal wastewater treatment facilities are being generated with the use of this technology. So I have tried to brief here the applications of this technology in different sectors, in different countries, how people have come forward with the approach to use constructed wetlands for the treatment of industrial wastewater as well as domestic wastewater and municipal wastewater. And you can see the good results have been achieved by the researchers in this sector. In our country, the use of constructed wetlands started very late, but yes, nowadays we have a lot of research projects being going on in our country based on the constructed wetlands, and a lot of pilot scale projects are running very well in our country. And This is a briefing of the work which we started in India, where Professor Billor is very renowned name who worked in the field of constructed wetland technology using typha and phragmites for the treatment of municipal wastewater and domestic wastewater. And the first constructed wetland in India, it was started in Odisha, Bhubaneswar in Sainik School, that was planted with typha and phragmites. Similarly, you can see a lot of wetland studies has been carried out, and a lot of pilot scale projects are running here. The another table I have also tried to highlight the working which has taken place in India till now. The studies carried out by different research groups, the outcome of their studies, and how these studies are considered to be more favorable for treatment of wastewater as compared to the conventional method. So the results of those research studies could give you a good briefing that wetland technology is one of the important as well as future technology that could be utilized as compared to the conventional methods. And some of the pilot scale projects which are running in our country at a larger scale is shown here in these slides, where one of the project that is being run in Bangalore, that is having a designing capacity of almost 320 KLD, and the project was initiated with a capital cost of 1.1 crore almost. Then we have another pilot scale study which is going on in IERI Pusa, where the 2.2 MLT of wastewater designing capacity this project is having, and this is in operational since 2012, and the project cost was also around 1 crore. Then some of the research group have also created some pilot scale studies in the field of municipal wastewater treatment using typha and phragmites. This study is being going very well in IIT Mumbai. Then recent study I have gone through, that is in happening in Uttarakhand, Dehradun, where they are running 9 pilot projects to treat the mother dairy waste coming from different mother dairies, and they have a combined system, centralized system to treat the whole waste which is generated. So they are promoting the use of constructed wetlands for the treatment of the mother dairy wastewater. So I have also tried to contribute a little to this technology, and somehow I initiated my work in the field of constructed wetland to use them for the treatment of pulp and paper mill wastewater. So the study was including the use of typha as well as canna for the treatment of pulp and paper industrial wastewater, and this was the initial study which I came up with, and later on the technology was being appreciated by the pulp and paper industry Saharanpur, and they have a design. They try to start up with the use of constructed wetland at their own plant, because they were having a conventional system which was sometime not functional. So they started the combination of their conventional system along with the use of constructed wetlands. So all the designing calculations were done based on the wastewater which is being generated from there, and how the organic load condition was existing at that time. So similarly, the use of hybrid constructed wetland technology is also being initiated in one of the research study that is carried out by me, and where we are using Orundodonix that is easily available in our country. That is found to be more suitable because it is having a good growth, having a great root expansion system. So we are utilizing those species for the treatment of sewage wastewater nowadays in our university, where we have combined the vertical as well as horizontal technology, and the combination approach is used for the treatment of sewage wastewater. Then one of the very important approach we are moving towards is nowadays the recent development that is happening in microbial fuel cell is the combination of constructed wetlands with the microbial fuel cells. We all know that microbial fuel cells are commonly used for the electricity generation, and in 1911 the concept of MFCs came into the existence, where Porter started to working on the use of MFCs to generate electricity he used Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Then later on, the modifications happened in the system, because at that time it was not, it couldn't get more significant. So in 1976, it was again promoted, and MFCs were more used, and they were significantly utilized for generation of electricity by Suzuki at that time, and nowadays they are coming in combination with the constructed wetlands to treat wastewater coming from different sectors. We are also having one plant that is having a combination of MFC plus CW, which is again utilized for treatment of sewage wastewater, and the impact of various plants is also being observed, and how much electricity could be generated, that also is verified with the use of this technology. So if we conclude about the use of constructed wetlands, how important constructed wetlands are, and what kind of benefits we could get with the use of this technology. The systems are very much environment friendly, can help in reducing the problems like greenhouse effect, global warming. They can help in treatment of the various diverse wastewater coming from industries, coming from municipal sources or other sources. And moreover, these systems could have more scientific and technological developments. With the use, they can be applied in the field of agricultural practices. So nowadays this concept is also coming that these could be a good approach to be applicable in the agricultural practices, where the where we can create certain constructed wetlands near the areas of agricultural practices, and they can help in controlling the winds which are coming towards the agricultural fields, and they can also help in controlling the stormwater runoff that is coming, that is major source of contamination near the agricultural fields. So this way, this could be applicable into the fields where we are promoting agricultural practices. That is one of the future aspect that we can look into it. We can see for the coming timings where we can apply the technology more suitably and more sustainably for treatment of wastewaters. And I have some publications in this field till now. I'm learning a lot about the technology, and what I have learned I have tried to publish also. And I have some papers in the field of use of constructed wetland technology for treatment of wastewater, for treatment of industrial wastewater, where I worked on the pulp and paper industrial wastewater treatment. Then constructed wetland with the combination of microbial fuel cells also, I could get one good publication of 9 impact factor. That was highly appreciated, and more research we are trying to do. Nowadays we are also trying to come up with a concept of household model that could be utilized for the treatment of wastewater which is being generated from the household itself. So to carry on this project, we visited some of the villages in Haryana. If you people are aware to some places like Mewat, there are different villages where they do not have enough of the water resources, and whatever the water resources are available, they are having high content of salts. Their hardness is very high, then water cannot be utilized to meet their domestic needs. So they are planning that how the water can be treated, and that could be utilized for their domestic purposes. So we are coming up with that concept also, and we hope that it could be a successful achievement, and then people would be able to treat their wastewater generated at their household or at their system itself, and they can have the water treated for their domestic purposes. So these are my contributions to the use of constructed wetlands till now, and let's see what we are going to do in the future. But this technology is having a lot of scopes, and there are various approaches where we can work in the development in the technological sector in the scientific manner, how these could be just modified scientifically and technically, and how the technology could be promoted in future for the wastewater treatment. Because still we are concerned that government also come forward and promote the technology in various sectors. So that is also very much essential. Only then we can have a more focus towards the towards the technology and its implementations. With this, I conclude my lecture today. So in case you have any questions, we can discuss. Thank you so much.
It's an honor to be given this opportunity to offer a vote of thanks on behalf of my department, Department of Environmental Engineering, DTU. I offer my heartfelt gratitude to Chief Guest, Shri N. Nigam, Guest of Honor, Shri Dinesh Kumar, all the experts present, and Head of Department, Department of Environmental Engineering, Professor S.K. Singh, for gracing the occasion. I also offer my gratitude to Registrar DTU, Engineering Cell, and other associated staff for offering support for organizing this event. Our sincere thanks to Mr. Sushil and Mr. Hariom, EduSet Studio, for providing us with photography services. I also thank the organizing committee and its members for making best arrangements for this program in such a short time. Though I have tried to include all the members involved in this event to offer my thanks, I sincerely apologize if I have missed out someone. Therefore, I end the vote of thanks by offering gratitude to each and everyone for making this event a success.